Hi, everyone. It's just such a thrill to me to see you signing in. I feel surrounded. I'm grateful to be with you today and humbled, given all the extraordinary presenters and festivals and panels that we've had. Several of my most important mentors in life, certainly dozens of my closest friends, are here. I feel at home, and I hope you do too. When our daughter was 8 years old, we had a chance to do several days of horseback riding in Colorado. When we signed up for it, the promotional literature said that at the close of the experience, there would be a rodeo. And so we started to imagine what that would be like. When the riding had come to an end, one of the wranglers gathered the riders and announced that it was time for the rodeo. And furthermore, that we should get prepared since we were to be the contestants. Well, friends, welcome to the rodeo. This is a panel discussion in which you are the panelists. As we begin, let's sing. One of the realities of hymn society culture, as I experience it, is that it is as collaborative and non-competitive as any musical organization I know. When I'm in a hymn society gathering, I feel surrounded. I had that feeling in a wonderfully intense way when I invited a group of hymn society members in the Dallas area to form a community of creativity, which we called Holy City, inspired by a model of worship and conversation in the Iona community. After a particularly vigorous planning session, which did include some disagreements, we remarked that it had been really good to be together. That caused one of the members of the group, who I think many of you know, Susie Bird, to say, well, when there's trust in the room, a lot of things become possible. Well, that's the way I experience the hymn society. When we're at our best, there's trust in the room. So here's a text that I wrote back then. And so I'm gonna sing this. And after I sing it once, I'll go back to the beginning of the first stanza and we'll sing it together. There isn't a chorus now, but there is a setting of it coming out soon, which will have one. And so I'm joyful about that. Here's what it sounds like. When there's trust in the room, we can breathe. When we don't undercut or deceive. When there's grace in the air and respect everywhere, when there's trust in the room, we can breathe. Now you, when there's trust in the room, we can breathe. When we don't undercut or deceive. When there's grace in the air and respect everywhere, when there's trust in the room, we can breathe. When there's trust in the room, we can see. When the blinders come off and we're free. When we're honest and fair and receptive to care, when there's trust in the room, we can see. There's one more stanza. Here we go. When there's trust in the room, we can dream. When our motives are just what they seem, when our thoughts freely flow and we're challenged to grow, When there's trust in the room, we can dream. Oh, thank you for your singing. I'm imagining it. Well, friends, I feel both excited and nervous as we begin this session. The reason, quite simply, is that the society is in one of the most pivotal points in our history, not just because we're approaching the centennial, but because North American social, political, and religious culture is in a space so liminal that many of us are reaching what church consultant Susan Beaumont calls exceeding our liminal tolerance. In simpler language, God is birthing so many extraordinary new things that we're nearly breathless trying to catch up with what God is doing. But we're equally breathless trying to keep up with what's slipping away in institutions, customs, traditions, and rituals which have profoundly shaped and fed us. I'm hoping somebody in the room is feeling something like this. The focus of this afternoon is discernment. That's different from planning. Discernment is about conversing with God and each other based on what we're noticing around us. We're asking God to help us make sense of what we see and feel. It's hard work for any organization to do discernment about its future. But to quote one of my favorite movies, League of Their Own, the hard is what makes it great. If it were easy, everyone would do it. So let's dig in. I want to frame the conversation and then give you some time to ponder and to perhaps start posting in the chat. And even formulate something that you'd like to say, because there will be a moment in which particular folks can, raise their hand, be unmuted, and have a chance to talk. So, friends, this afternoon, we are not concentrating on what kinds of activities might be promising for our second century, as important as those will be. I care a lot about what activities we'll have, but that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about projects, initiatives. We're not talking about what the summer conference will look like in 10 years or what the future is of our publications. What we are doing is asking, I hope, two questions. We're certainly going to dig into the first one. And that is, what is the difference we are called to make in the coming century in the varieties of settings in which we live and work? Then, if we have time, how is the Hymn Society and the Center for Congregational Song distinctively positioned and equipped to make a difference? Now, think of it this way. In order to get a handle on discernment. Let's take a historic figure, Harriet Tubman. Who is Harriet Tubman? Well, she was, among other things, a conductor on the Underground Railroad. What did Harriet Tubman do? Well, literally, she brought enslaved people out of slave states into free states. What difference did Harriet Tubman make? That's where it gets great. That's where the conversation gets huge. We get to talk about how she profoundly altered the status quo, or she offered tangible encouragement to thousands. Or we might say that she teaches to this day and will continue to. Okay, so who was she? What did she do? What difference did she make? Or what is the Hymn Society? an ecumenical organization which touches every aspect of congregational singing in North America. What does the Hymn Society do? We gather for conferences, we send ambassadors to colleges, we give scholarships, we practice our craft and make it public, among lots of other things. What difference does the Hymn Society make? How are people and communities changed because of what we do? As we look to our second century, what difference is God calling us to make? This isn't easy work, but discernment is the hardest and best work any organization can do. Now, just to elaborate just a little more. So we have rehearsed during this week the tragic story that 11 o'clock on Sunday morning is still the most segregated hour in America. Is it possible that God is calling us to help change that? That would be a difference, a really quite concrete one. People are still wrangling over whose music is the right music to sing and worship. Is it possible God's calling us to intervene in that and be a bridge? So as you begin to percolate on this, I just want to do a very brief review of some of the things, at least from my perspective, that God has been doing among us in the last 15 years or so. One is that we have a new apostolic wing. We have a public face called the Center for Congregational Song, with the intended purpose of meeting people we've never met before, with the intended purpose of going to people to have conversation, to be brokering conversation rather than waiting for everything to come to us. We have shifted from being a culture of dues payers to being a culture of generous donors. It's amazing. Did you look at the number of events that were sponsored and note the generosity that came, not just in the capital campaign of a few years ago, but which continues? You know, our story used to be, we're just poor church mice. I want you to remember that was our story. And that doesn't appear to be our story anymore. I think that's God's doing. Another evidence I see of God's work is the number of touches that we have with people now, especially on our online platform. Oh my goodness. Look at the number of people who have gotten to converse with each other and be in solidarity with each other and offer comfort to each other during COVID. The number of ways in which we are engaging people is just amazing. I am grateful to God every day for our staff and for those faithful society members who have been parts of those things. Okay, so that's just a little bit of what I have seen. So what we're really doing together this afternoon is continuing to name our why. Why do we exist? Now, if we're going to name the difference we hope to make in the coming years, it's essential to name the difference that has already happened in us. I'm talking to each of you individually, particularly. If you can answer, how has my participation in the Hymn Society changed me? And then, by a wonderful work of grace, we can pool our answers. got a better than even chance of discerning what God is doing. For example, if we notice people saying roughly the same thing, it's not a leap to say, well, maybe we're not just some random group of individuals that got thrown together. And maybe we were gathered for a quite distinctive purpose. See what I mean? Hard, but great. So time for me to stop talking and time for you, if you will, to start putting some of your reflections in the chat. What's the difference God is calling us to make in the coming years in the life of the Hymn Society? I'm comfortable with being quiet, and I'm going to be quiet and watch. And then we'll see kind of what begins to happen. And Brian may be recording things you say onto this screen. So have at it. Wow. Help me emerge from my denominational silo. Thank you, Marilyn. Right. I believe we can model a grace-filled way to have difficult conversations. Can we sing our way to a better world? Thank you for that, Eileen. Peter, thank you. We're called to help our communities worship and therefore live beyond themselves, banishing the weariness of the world. Thank you, Peter. Oh, thank you, Adam. We've been cultivated by those who were here when we arrived. And so part of the calling is to return the gift. Yeah, and see, the wonderful thing about putting it that way is that then you've got the calling, but then it's fun to kind of fill out. So what does that look like in particular settings? That's great. Pauletta, thank you. Oh, connected me to people and conversations I didn't know I needed. Wow, that's been true for me so many times. Milner, thank you. We're continuing to be called to provide a prophetic voice for the importance of congregational singing. Ah, what a wonderful comment about the society's ability to curate and disseminate. Sounds like a continuing calling. Called to continue to be a prophetic voice in the world. Yeah. Thanks for this word, Noel, about decentralizing the canon using Dr. Emer's term. Wasn't that a powerful word? So our being together and singing together has helped us as individuals to sing the song of others more comfortably and joyfully. Gloria, thank you for this. Call to decolonize congregational song. Gloria, I know you're going to be a leader in that. And thank you for your work on Sunday night. That was so amazing. So David Eicher's reporting for Joe that the work of the Hymn Society, perhaps the summer conferences and other things, has made him more aware of cultural social issues, how to respond. Thank you, Michael. We're called to connect song and ethical response. This was the powerful word from Saya, at least the one that I heard in Hillary's panel yesterday. Welcome is action. Seeding hymns which deal with relevant issues and bringing what we sing to action. See, we see some themes emerging. Thank you, Karen. Oh, Pauletta, giving us courage to write words and melodies. God bless you. You did such a good job at the workshop before COVID. That was fun. Oh, Judy, what a wonderful comment. Being here made me feel less alone in my excitement about congregational song. Brings me to learn and grow. Wow. I'm reminded of Sandra Van Opstal's way of talking about hospitality says you are welcome. Solidarity says I stand with you. And mutuality says we need each other. Wow, you are filling up this board. Andrew, thank you. Expanding the places, venues, contexts where congregational songs of faith can happen. What a stirring photograph you brought to the panel about translation issues of that big gathering, public gathering. That was a wonderful expansion of a venue. Oh my, what a wondrous comment. Megan, having people who can sing for me when I cannot. Oh, that touches me really deeply. I've used that phrase with prayer. I will pray for you when you are unable to form the words of prayer. That expands that for me in a beautiful way. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Slats. Again, this concept of bridge between prayer, song, and action. See, for me, as someone who leads congregational discernment, I'm seeing that so often that it appears to be heart song. I mean, or central thought or key concept. So we want to ask, God, is this you? I think the answer is clearly yes. Thank you, Tracy, encouraging the creation of new songs. Something that has happened to us and that we're called to continue. That also raises the whole issue of what isn't it amazing that we're seeing what a difference 5 years can make in in how we view what needs to be written about, or how we need to write about things differently than we used to. Oh, we're going to page 2. God bless you, Brian. Friends, you are doing the best work here. Can I bring you all the next time I work in a congregation and say, this is how you do it?
This is how you do it.
How can we continue to nurture important conversations about assembly song in our colleges and seminaries? Wow. Wow. That would seem to imply that conversation has tailed off or waned. And so we might be called to reintroduce certain forms of conversation, yeah. Kirk, thank you for your word. Hymn Society has expanded my ecumenical and interfaith understandings, among many other things. Oh my, yes. So who have we not met yet? Would be one of my questions. I have a colleague in Houston who says, what we are most decidedly called to do is to form improbable friendships. By that, he simply means meeting people who are really unlike us, except that we have more in common than we think. And it's our joy to find out what it is. Oh, friends, I can hardly keep up with you. This is so exciting. Thank you, Ruth. Equip musicians and pastors to lead with confidence. T. Wes, we are continuing to embrace the whole spectrum that continues to expand of congregational song, which has helped me on my own journey. Yeah, isn't it something how being introduced to a whole new part of the bandwidth can just bring such discovery and joy. Oh, how lovely, Sarah Johnson. Thank you for bringing up the important role of bridging communities of scholars and practitioners, and the ever important ecumenical collegiality. We just have so much to learn from each other. Thank you for that. Darnell, an organization that supports hymnological research and promotes singing and congregational song. Good. Yeah. Isn't it cool when a great researcher opens something up to us that just makes us a hymn or song twice what it used to be? Just expands it for us. Oh, what a lovely comment. Oh, you all are making me happy. The Hymn Society can encourage the voices of those who don't know they have voices. Wow, wouldn't you love to be in a circle of people who had that to talk about? Who is it that don't think they have voices? Or maybe, why have they become quiet? Okay. That's a generous comment, Eileen, about being challenged to be a better follower of Jesus. I'm going to say, Eileen, right back at you. That's something that you've modeled for me. Okay. Yeah, it's getting crowded. Isn't that great? My goodness. Abner, thank you for this comment, maybe helping or encouraging other cultures to rethink their own hymnody. I know that North American culture, I know United States culture for sure needs that. Chi Yi, thank you. More voices around the table. Oh my. Paulita, yeah, I'm picking you.
I caught up.
I have it, as you can see. Brian, I'd love you to join in with me here. What are you seeing? You've been doing the one typing. What are you seeing?
I was struggling to read it all as I was copying and pasting from the chat. But I mean, definitely some themes. I think the bridge building that you mentioned earlier, along with like words like connected, and like the ecumenical. A lot of people talked about expanding their understanding of the other. So I think all of this,
Yeah.
And working together with a diverse group of people and kind of modeling a community that is willing to engage with each other and love each other while also coming from very different places. All of this speaks towards this idea of one of our central purposes, one of our whys is bridge building. That's the way to put it, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that connects quite beautifully to the other, the decolonize, decentralize, not only our song, but like someone said, the canon. Someone said decolonize congregational song, but also just decentering. If we're going to be building bridges, then instead of bridges from a central place, it's almost like a web. I don't know.
Yeah. Mike, thank you for seeing some commonalities, talking about connecting, about breaking barriers and expanding horizons, lots of ethical and justice connections to song. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, the like once again, the intergenerational learning that popped up that
Right.
deals with kind of connecting generations. So it's helping people figure out where they are and what's missing, and through the power of song, connecting them to that next place that they're being called to go or expand.
I'm loving seeing the vital combination of personal transformation and societal transformation. So that feels really, really key. Thank you for. Okay. All right. Well, we have provided a whole bunch of people, certainly the executive committee and well, I mean, now the beautiful decision to make is, having gained this sort of wisdom, what do we make of it? And there is a precedent, so I want to say that there was a gathering of a similar kind in 2011 in Winnipeg. That was more about activities, and it wasn't kind of as expansive as taking the century look. But my point is, we've done this before, and it had quite a powerful impact.
It created this banner instead of now we have two banners.
Right, right. Well, I think if you're willing to go there, friends, let's do a little work on the second question, and that is how is the hymn society distinctively positioned as we look into our second century to be agents of transformation? Excuse me, I don't have the exact text of the question in front of me, but what makes up? Oh, thanks. So how are we distinctively positioned and equipped to make a difference? What are our assets? What do we do really well? So let me invite you to dive into that just for a while. What are we distinctively positioned and how are we distinctively positioned and equipped to make a difference? What is it about us that we could make a difference? Margaret, thank you. We sing, yeah. Difference makers come in all kinds. We have connections around the globe. Thank you. That's great, Ruth. Tom, we currently have creative and energized leadership. We sure do. I'm thanking God for, we do pedagogy well. I think that's, we're so diverse, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, culturally. Thank you. We're already a living network. This is wonderful. I can't keep up. Peter, thank you. In a world where there are lots of in-house conversations, we embrace our diversity. And so conversation happens differently than it does in-house. Yeah, we bring many gifts together. We don't just sing. And our events have been vivid proof. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Robin. And we have not relied on titles. Yeah, this is, again, I was blown away. I joined the Hymn Society in 1993, and we were in Toronto, and I looked around the room and saw these people whose names were in hymn books and who were heroic in my mind. And they didn't extend their hand and say, hello, I'm Dr. So-and-so. That made a big difference. We do want to thank you, Grace, for pointing out the fact that we have generosity, which makes a lot of this possible. We have the best learnings of theology and sociology.
I really like Slat's comment. We have been willing to change before, and I hope we are willing to change again.
Yeah. Thank you, Slats. And I think, this is just me, please, but I think in the life, see, I can only talk about the 29 years, but when I think about the change of the last 5 years, it's exponentially more than in the previous 10 or even 15. And the society's ability to live into this I have found inspirational, just because for some change is so hard, including me. Lucy, oh, hi Lucy. We're the non-ego society. That is a way we're distinctively positioned. Loud and proud and afraid, not afraid to take a look in the mirror. Thanks, T-Wes. Thanks, Jan. We do have the broadness of our membership that includes so many different charisms. Thanks, Adam. We're continually learning to look outside of ourselves. Isn't that nice? Grace, you sit next to Alice Parker and she welcomes you like a friend. That's what Alice is like. We have an enduring vision that keeps us moving forward, but not enough marketing. Boy, are you right about that. Yeah, our telling of our own story. It's the downfall of so many nonprofits. I believe the scripture calls it hiding your light under a bushel. So
I think there's a song about that.
Milner, we close the loops between and among those who create congregational songs, study it, utilize it. Yeah. Yeah. We tend to have a positive attitude about the possibilities of the future, not afraid to look and move forward. We are curious. Thank you, Robin. When I talk to churches about recruiting a team for discernment, I say the number one quality has to be curiosity.
As long as it's not the church cat, because we all know what happens.
That's right.
With the curiosity and the cat. It's one thing to be diverse, it's another thing to greatly value our diversity. Thank you for that word. Yeah. Thanks, Peter. We appreciate both heritage and new inspiration, using both to make our way into the future. For me, just comparing the festivals, the three so far, that brings to life your comment, Peter, just valuing what comes before us. Andrew, we have in our history the practice of asking newcomers and young people to take on meaningful and decisive tasks. We have, in fact. Yeah. Again, you've done wonderful, remarkable work. This all this reminds me of a life-changing moment, especially in what you said about our openness to receive the gifts of others. When I was working with the United Methodist Mission in Cameroon, as a small team there created their first hymnal, the rule of the editorial table was everybody could bring things and share. And it was all too often the truth that when I shared things, when we finished singing them, I would say, "Did you like it?" And after a time, one of the pastors was brave enough to say, "Reverend, we're likely to ask a different question than yours. You ask, do we like it? We ask, how can God use it?" Wow, that was huge in my life.
I mean, super huge. I didn't realize how much of American consumer culture I had in my body. So, Brian, you are the man.
That was a lot of copying and pasting.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing it. So, friends, using the language of an outmoded technology, my father used to say, when your cassette runs out, stop. I think that first of all, I'm as full of gratitude as when we began this, and I'm more full. Thank you for this. This will go somewhere. We have crossed this bridge in the M Society when we have asked people. And thank you, Mike, for saying this is amazing. I feel ready to start a second century. Well, great. What you have shared today, and the beauty of your sharing is going somewhere. First, of course, to our wonderful executive committee. Where it'll go after that, it will be spirit driven. So, Brian, any benedictory words?
Well, no, because there's more to do. I'll give a charge. Your charge is to go out, eat some food, get some good drink, and then enjoy the hymn festival tonight. After which our executive director, Mike McMahon, will give us some benedictory words. And then make sure you catch the meeting tomorrow, the annual meeting, as it's called. It's going to be a great meeting. Some important things are going to be talked about. We're going to be announcing the 2022 conference slate. And it's going to be a good time. John, thank you so much for starting the conversation or continuing the conversation, but definitely not ending the conversation. So I look forward to seeing what fruit this bears.
Blessings.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.